There is not in the wide world a valley so sweet as the vale in whose bosom the bright waters meet. Oh, the last rays of feeling and life must depart, ere the bloom of that valley shall fade from my heart. The words of the poem of Thomas Moore, written to ensure history would remember his enchantment with the Avoca River and its surrounding valley. The 35-mile Avoca River Catchment starts mainly as two rivers, the Avonmore and the Avonbeg, and they eventually create the Avoca River at the famous Meeting of the Waters, the place made famous by Thomas More's poem. It is an area of Ireland that has attracted interest and tourism for hundreds of years. But unfortunately, due to its rich past in mineral wealth and subsequent mining for over 200 years, the Avoca Valley has, in recent times, suffered.
I suppose when people think of the Avoca River, the number one thing that everybody remembers and hears is it's the most polluted river in Ireland. And the reality is that that's only a very small section of the whole catchment, and that's the legacy of the Avoca Mines. And when you look upstream of the White Bridge, we have an absolutely incredible network of watercourses and rivers full of biodiversity and richness. So it's interesting just to try and change the attitude and the opinion about that.
You know, when you look at a water quality map of Ireland, and if you go onto catchments.ie, you'll see those colours. You know, where you see blue and green, it's all good, but where you see red or yellow or orange, it's not good. And you see red in Avoca because of that mining impact. And they've plans at the moment to work with various stakeholders and landowners to go in and to try and keep those adits open that collect all of that mine drainage and then put in a treatment plant. And if you can treat it, and we know it can be done because there's been a pilot project, if you can treat it, let it back to the river treated, you're going to take that real acid impact out of the river. And I think, you know, the plans are underway for that, and it'll be a huge step in taking what is potentially one of the most natural, beautiful rivers in the country and getting it back to the status. It might never meet that good or that high status, but it certainly will allow fish to migrate through, which they already do in small numbers, and it will reduce some of that toxic impact. It'll be a wonderful day when it happens.
Since the closing of the mines all along the valley, as well as man's other exploitations of the area, nature has been reclaiming the slopes and the waters, slowly repairing itself.
We're very lucky to have a lot of old woodland here in Wicklow and a lot of native oak woodland. And within that, we have amazing diversity. So we have species like goosander, which sometimes you see on the river here. So this is one of, there's goosander in Wicklow and goosander in Donegal. That's about it in Ireland. And they're a very interesting bird that lives on our rivers. They're a duck, and they're a diving duck, but they actually nest in a tree, and they migrate up and down the Avonmore here.
So species like common buzzard 20 years ago would have been a lot rarer here. These days, very common sight. This kind of valley produces nice updraft, so soaring birds, you know, really like these kind of areas. And then obviously the red kite was reintroduced into the area about 13 years ago, and you know, it's not by chance that we picked this area. The topography of it, the makeup of the habitats, the old oak woodlands. You know, we thought, you know, we hoped there wouldn't be persecution, but early on there was things like shooting and poisoning, and you know, there was real upset in the community, which was great to see. I see there's a red kite walk now. Well, it's there a number of years in Avoca, and yeah, people have really taken this to heart, and I think people largely enjoyed seeing them. Knowing they're back as part of the Irish, you know, natural history, and you know, our avifauna has a huge value.
We're so lucky really in Wicklow. I'd be a team of 6 people who work in pollution control, and we all get to go out to take the samples at various times. And the wildlife that you see and the people that you meet when you're out, it really does kind of brighten up your day. And for example, when we come to the bridges here and you throw over your bucket, you might hear a sharp whistle, and you're going to look as soon as you hear the sharp whistle, because you're going to see a kingfisher just darting up the river. A very, very shy animal that doesn't want to be disturbed, but as soon as you hear the whistle, all you're going to get is a glimpse of some blue dart up the river. Or you might see a dipper, as you take your sample, dipping his head underneath the water, taking the insects from underneath those stones. I've had some of my best times ever out sampling, or with my family in this catchment in particular. I think, you know, everything drains to the river, but the river gives back life, and no better catchment to see it than the Avoca-Avonmore catchment.
I don't know how many people have heard about the return of the great spotted woodpecker. So everybody grew up loving woodpeckers from watching Woody the Woodpecker, and they were gone from our woodlands. We didn't have them in Ireland. It returned to the oak woods here in Wicklow, and it was first confirmed breeding in 2008. And the Avonmore River is really where it all began, with the woodpecker story in Wicklow. And it's just the most iconic bird, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see ecologically what happens with that species, because it makes a hole, it actually excavates its own hole, builds a cavity, and that's going to allow opportunity for all sorts of things, like some of our woodland bat species, which are kind of lacking somewhere to roost, because we don't have that many ancient, gnarly old oak trees with rot holes and hollow trees for them to roost in. So I can see them in time moving into the woodpecker holes. And then what we're finding, and this is another great story, is the return of the pine martin. So the pine martin has spread from the west of Ireland, and it's a really good news story because it's preying on grey squirrels over reds. Might be that the reds are smaller and more agile and go out to the ends of the branches and the pine martins can't catch them, but it's actually changing the whole ecology of our woodlands.
There's still a lot of salmon and a lot of trout, sea trout, coming up the system. Some of them make it through that zone that you might refer to, of the Avoca zone. And you know, they can get through that, and they do get up. And when they get up past it, you know what, you've got the whole length of that system, of that fast flowing, well oxygenated rivers, perfect spawning grounds. I think if we can get that treatment system in on the mines, I think this has got one that, you know, the fish, the potential habitat here is just huge, you know, absolutely huge.
So now this reclaimed and growing ecology offers a new kind of tourism, ecotourism, where people come and see and experience all these riches that nature has brought back to the valley.
There's a refocusing on not just watercourses as amenities, but the value they bring and the importance they are for biodiversity, for wildlife, you know, and for our health and well-being, because watercourses and amenities along them are proven, you know, to be good for human health and obviously for wildlife. So we really do have potential for great amenity, great outdoor spaces, and the use of that, like, who won't benefit from you know, local business, for B&Bs, hotels, all those will, the more footfall we can bring in a balanced way will be great, I suppose, for the tourism industry in the area.
I think it's real. I think it's more, it's real in terms of people want to experience ecotourism. They want to get away from the city and you know, to appreciate that kind of thing. But also it's real in terms of people's expectation of when they visit an area that it's eco, you know, responsibility in terms of the hotel and everything like that. No, I think it's very real.
But alongside the ecology, the mining is also a major part of the valley's story and heritage. It has literally shaped its hills and still contains monuments to its presence all along the sides, and it is a story that people will want to hear.
I think it has a fantastic story. There's nowhere like it around here, and I think if we if we were to develop this area as part of the whole river project and cleaning up the river, but not just cleaning up the river, but improving the heritage, getting the grip before we lose it forever. And we will lose this forever. This is too good to lose.
The mines themselves then, once they're left, plant species recolonise them, but they've served just like a natural cliff would. So the big pits here are great nesting resource for cliff nesting species, full of jackdaws. We have multiple pairs of ravens in the valley, peregrine falcon, the old mine buildings are used by birds like kestrels. And then just these woodlands, just the other night I saw long-eared owl in the area. You'll easily see 5 species of bird of prey in this valley on any given day, and that's saying quite something for Ireland really.
So the new areas of growth in the rich Avoca catchment would be the telling of the mining and the ecology reclamation, a combination that will make for a unique and rich story into the future.
Everywhere you look, there's life, there's change, there's beauty in the colour of the leaves in the autumn, there's new buds in the spring, there's carpets of bluebells in the oak woods along the Cllr Vale. It's all there, you have to look for it. And I suppose people are becoming more and more aware of what we have.